Hey, I'm Daniel Pickett, the Chief Technology Officer at SONAR. Welcome to our AI and Transportation webinar. Joining me today is David Bell, who started Lean Solutions, and an absolute powerhouse in making brokerage operations and transportation operations leaner, more efficient, and focusing on those margins. David, like I said, we saw each other about a year ago at the Lean event in Cartagena. And now it seems like you're back to your old tricks again, trying to make brokerages leaner, more efficient with automation at Clone Ops. I'm sorry. So I guess just talk to us a little bit. And there's been a wild diaspora of AI use cases in the last couple of years. How is AI going to transform logistics workflows over the next few years? What are you seeing in the space?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to transform it. It's the hottest thing going right now. Everybody's talking about it, and I got into it about in the logistics space. I started, exploring and see it was about sometime around May last year, and then realized I think it's definitely going to have an impact. I think there's going to be bigger expectations than what it's really going to deliver in the beginning. I think that it's going to take time in logistics to adopt it, to get it, to use it, to perfect it, and then to let it spread. Similar to when we built Lean, people started out with just the track and trace and night and weekends before they started doing customer facing functions and things. So I think it's going to have a similar path to that, and I just think it's going to make people extremely more productive. Like, you're just going to be able to multitask with your virtual agent, assistants, and have them do a lot of the legwork that you can only do one at a time, and you're going to be able to do multiple things at a time, and then do exception handling and oversee it, which is just going to make people, way more productive.
Yeah, that has certainly been what we've seen is a productivity enhancer. I think there was a lot of initial fear of, oh my God, it's going to eliminate all the jobs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Less so. It seems more like what it's going to do is it's going to make humans focus on, the exceptions, the hard stuff, the ugly stuff, and maybe offload the more mundane with lots of training examples. Is that what you guys are seeing, or any examples from what you guys have experienced so far?
Well, I think what's also going to do is it's going to get rid of a lot of wasted time. It's going to allow people to use their time more wisely and more beneficial. And I think that the specific AI we're dealing with is the voice agent AI, and it's just to be you can only make one phone call at a time. And with our AI can make 1,000 phone calls a second. So, it can literally take any high volume phone traffic, inbound or outbound, and just jack it up on massive steroids and make it infinitely more productive and better. And then out of those 1,000 calls you make, your 3 or 4 of them are the ones that are really important and need a human in the loop. And you're able to look at that and say, okay, these are the ones that need my attention. And now you're going to have more meaningful conversations, more meaningful workflow that the person's doing. And like you said, all of the other stuff that's, that doesn't need that person involved with it is going to be done through some sort of workflow in AI.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So talking about the role that, data plays in the AI you guys are using, or certainly at SONAR, we have a lot of data. We're using it to try and train models. And it, we find that where there's a lot of good examples, AI behaves really well. Where there's not, it can get creative, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not in a great way.
Yes.
Just talk about what you guys are doing in terms of data and training, and how you're making sure that AI behaves as expected.
So we have an AI software where we dump all the phone calls. So we'll have a client pick out a use case, whatever it may be, and it can be done for any sort of phone operations. And we'll pick that use case, and they'll send us 500 or 1,000 recorded phone calls. We load all of those phone calls in AI, sort them by category, and then we take category and we grade them by success, and then take the most successful ones and create the scripts with the prompts and the scripts from those most successful calls. So we're able to do it pretty quickly to where we don't have to go in and actually teach it and do the scripts ourselves and role play. And when that's absent, you can just go on ChatGPT and go, give me this script and this prompt for this, and then you just go in and edit it, monitor, you modify it wherever you want. So it's pretty easy to do. And I always tell everybody, like the voice AI is like the easy part to do. It's like, how are you going to build it around to make it a software SaaS type product that's beneficial and user friendly and allows it to be more of a tool to use just rather than the voice. I think voice AI is going to get less expensive, and it's like I always say, it's like the old cellular time. You used to pay $4,000 a month for a cell bill, and now you pay $59.99 all over the world. So I think that's going to have a similar effect. And so what we're doing is we're trying to build a dashboard that allows for capturing data, capturing analytics, capturing Power BI, and a robust interactive workflow and work enhancing atmosphere to work in to make it better with with your voice assistant handling a lot of the stuff that you want it to handle and making getting work done 90% of what you need done to where you only do 10% of what the important stuff is.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And you talked a little bit about the user experience, which I think is so key here. All of us are familiar with the phone call that goes, "Hello, have you got a warranty for your car?" That's not what we're talking about here. You're talking about the leaps and bounds we've seen in the last few years, and why that you really can have great customer experience talking to a robot now.
Well, the thing is when you're talking to the robot now, it's quick, it responds quick, it answers your question with precision. It's not just there's not like 10 questions and answers that all it can do.
It's not a phone tree or a decision tree.
It interacts and such a short time, it picks up exactly what you ask, it gets the answer and delivers it back. And you can create the voice and have the voice in any kind of voice you want, any name you want, any character you want, any mood you want. So it's like we can clone your voice and make it you. So it's pretty cool, the technology, and it came fast, right? Like all of a sudden it was here, and then everybody's doing it, and every day somebody new pops up with voice agent model. And I think where we nailed it at CloneOps is our dashboard and the ability to take over calls and pick them up versus transferring. Because I think transferring the calls is okay, but like if you have a customer or a driver or a crisis on the line, you don't want the person that's talking to your agent to be on hold and waiting to be transferred. And so our takeover technology that we developed, where right on the dashboard you can watch the calls, text voice to text, and then you can jump in and take the call over when you see escalation highlighted words, or it goes to the top of the queue because we give it a score. And if the higher the score, the worse the call is going, and it puts it to the top of the list. You can just jump in and take it over. You don't have to be transferred. And then I think everybody you're dealing with to know that if they understand that's your environment, the AI and AI agent environment that you're working with us, then they'll know that you're listening, you're watching, and someone can pick up at any time instead of worrying. So they'll try to get the answer from the AI, and if they can't, they'll just go, you can't help me, pick up please, and then boom, someone could just see it and pick up the call. So that's kind of where we think that we make a difference.
And really, I mean, much like any automated phone agent, the secret is what percent of the time can the agent or can the computer handle it without somebody going, operator, pick up an operator. Talk a little bit about I confess I'm guilty of doing that.
I don't even listen. When I get on, I just start pressing 0. I'm one of those guys that presses 0 like 5 times, and then it keeps repeating the menu, and I'm like 0, and then star and asterisk.
If I wanted to know my balance or recent transactions, I would have checked it on the website. Get me to the operator. I'm here for a lost cause.
What we're doing key too is like the old phone systems where you dial 1 for this department. So we're also deploying like the AI agent as a receptionist, where you can literally answer the phone. Thanks for calling SONAR. Talk to them. They can ask questions, and then when you transfer them, it can decide to transfer them to a person in that department or another agent, AI agent that can handle it too. So I think that's like in the basic form, just having it as a virtual agent receptionist instead of press 1 for accounting, 2 for dispatch, and if you're still using that, that's old.
We're seeing that same kind of thing, where an agentic approach to multiple specialized AIs routing traffic between each other makes a lot of sense.
Well, eventually AI is just going to be talking to AI, which is what I coined AI API, because it's, as we onboard brokers, right, with the voice agents, they're going to call out to all the carriers. We're looking at the most called carriers, and we're calling them up and going, listen, you're going to be getting massive calls from our AI agent from all these brokers we're onboarding. Let's give you an AI agent to handle those calls.
Sure.
And so we're connecting our AI agent with the broker and our AI agent with the high volume call carrier, and letting the AI agents discuss 90% of what goes on, why both people watch, and then boom, the trucker can see, okay, this is a good broker, he wants to pay me good money, let me pick it up, and vice versa. So I think that's where it ultimately ends up.
Yeah, and I mean, the bottom line is, are you creating those efficiencies in excess of the cost? And it is possible today. What are you guys seeing with your customers at CloneOps, and in terms of creating those efficiencies, and what percent of the calls are never making it to a human, and really letting them focus on the hardest, most difficult exceptions, if you will?
So I wish I had more data for you, because we just launched our pilots this month, and we're working. But from what we anticipate, we think it's probably like a 60 to 70% ratio that it'll be able to handle the call. That's what we're seeing right now. So and we're also seeing, like, out of the outbound calls, like, for example, we're doing a lot of accounts receivable maintenance agents where they're simply calling, asking for accounts payable, or whoever answers doesn't know, or the prompt, and then they're asking, hey, I just emailed you your statement, can you pull it up, take a look at it, and see what invoices you're missing so I can send them to you? And then it sends it to them, and then they're like, okay, when will it be paid? Okay, thank you. And like, it hangs up. So now you have one accounts receivable manager there watching their virtual agent talk to 5 people at a time, instead of just one call at one at a time, and one, and doing it. So now they can be 4 or 5 times more productive and get more work done.
Yeah. They're only doing, the highest value work, not the low hanging fruit is being picked by the AI, if you will.
Yeah, and those are pretty successful and easy calls, because you can call up the accounts payable person, go, listen, I have a virtual assistant now. Play with it, talk to it. It's AI. You can have fun with it. Ask them what I'm doing. Where's Dave? And you can have a little fun with it. It's very interactive, and it's very it's almost like human. And I just want to let you know they're going to be calling you to check on invoices when we don't hear back from you, and emails. So they're calling. And if you just open up and be transparent with the customers and the carriers and who they are, we think that they'll kind of enjoy playing with it a little bit, and because it's new, right? Everybody, it's new for everybody.
Sure. And when you have a simple task, you want to get it done quickly.
Yeah. No, and I think for like Lean, I'm not, I was advising for Lean for many, many years. I founded it, and most people that heard me speak for know the story. But for them, like, they have 10,000 employees in Colombia, and what their customers want from them is they want more value. How can you save me money? How can my people be more productive? How can you create more value and give me a better ROI on the money I'm spending with you? And I think we could go in there with and other people too, with their products, because there's a lot of good companies out there, but us specifically, we can go in there and make their people more productive and better, which makes companies push more functions down to them and help them grow. So I think there's going to be a transition of not getting rid of people, helping with attrition, helping with scale. But then over time, I think that, it's definitely going to change the way work, people work, and how many people you need, especially in the traditional BPO call centers, where you're really just doing a pure task. Like logistics, they're thinking jobs, you got to do things, but when it's just a pure task, I think those call centers they're not already transitioned AI and replacing people. They're going to be obsolete.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, the beauty of it is we don't have a universal API that all the TMSs and all the carriers can all communicate with. We use the English language, so to have something that can translate the English language into here is how I interface with this broker or this carrier. It fills that gap that a lack of standards has created in the industry.
Well, the problem is like every carrier doesn't want to take the time to do that integration API, because they're not doing enough business with the broker. Right. And that's why I think the AI API is going to be great, because they won't need it, and they'll just be able to have their agents do it. And it's I think carriers have a lot of use cases too, because drivers like to talk, right? So as long as drivers like to talk and like to answer questions and find out if their paycheck went out or what their fuel card has, so like, and they won't let you off the phone. So like, so the good thing about having an AI is when you tell your driver this is a driver AI assistant, it's going to answer every question you need. Now all of a sudden, drivers at trucking companies won't mind calling it and calling that AI agent and getting all the information, because it's very precise and articulate. Like the problem is with when you call somebody and you tell them your phone number, you tell them your email, you got to repeat it, you got to sound it out, you got to be like you have to like say it 3 or 4 times sometimes, even if your email is easy, and the AI gets it like that. You say it one time fast and it's got it. So
it has trained on multiple dialects, including it's finally getting good at my Southern accent. So
we can definitely replicate that, and it speaks. We have 16 languages that it'll turn. And so if you're talking one of our agents, and all of a sudden we start talking to a Serbian or Ukrainian or Punjab driver, it can sense that. It could switch languages mid call and start talking to them in that language.
Go their native, and it's agnostic to the AI. It's all it translates right back to what it needs.
And so when you're trying to call and find out where a driver is, and he really doesn't want to speak to you, all of a sudden if you speak to him in his language, all of a sudden he's like, oh, okay. People are much more receptive. Like I always try to learn how to say hello, in somebody's language. So like you see some, whatever it is, whether it's Korean, Chinese, Japanese, if you could say hello to them, you just see it, or Spanish, you just see them open up a little bit more. Like, you took the time to learn how to say hello in my language. That's great.
You made the smallest effort. That buys you a lot of credit.
Yeah, no, it does for sure. And I used to have a Korean trucking company out there, and I would go in and go, 안녕하세요, and they'd be like, oh, 안녕하세요. So like it just warms it up a little bit. So I think that helping do that with drivers, I think, is going to be better too, and dispatchers, and so it's just all cool stuff, man. And logistics needs to be cool. We need to do some stuff to make it cool and keep it cool.
Absolutely. I will say the pandemic took what do you do for a living from a conversation that put people to sleep to, oh, that's so interesting, I'm waiting on a package that's stuck in customs.
That's funny though. What do you do for a living? Like I hear that in my sleep now. Like it's like, what do you do for a living? We were in the Bahamas or something one time, and we were laying out, and all of a sudden we swore we heard someone say, "What do you do for a living?" We're like, "What? Why is everybody asking that now? What is that? What is with that? Is it a new generational thing or something?"
Yeah. Well, David, peer into your crystal ball. You've been at the forefront of some pretty dramatic changes in how we run brokerage. Where do you see this going in maybe 3 or 5 or 10 years? Clearly you guys are on the cusp of something that's going to majorly transform brokerage efficiency and all those mundane tasks. Where do we go from here?
I mean, listen, I think the last 2 years of this recession, that companies are really just truly genuinely looking to lower their cost per load and increase their bottom line and make up for the last 2 years of lost margins and lost revenue. So they're looking at doing anything they can to get any technology they can that's actually going to be used. Because the problem in logistics is you got all this technology, you get it, you're ready to go, and then nobody uses it. You go right back to doing it yourself. It's like, it's a voice to text on the iPhone. You can literally talk on your phone, it turns it to text, but like everybody still texts. You still sit there and pound away in text because it's just getting used to new technology. So I think like I said in the beginning, it's going to start out slow, it's going to spread, it's going to take hold, people are going to learn it, they're going to get comfortable with it. And I think 3 or 4 years from now, 5 years from now, I think it's literally going to be all AI. I think you're going to get all the work done in such a faster amount of time. And I keep saying it, and more interviews and stuff I do, I feel like if people listen more than once, they hear me say it over and over again. But I think work days are going to go down to 3 or 4 day work days, maybe 5 or 6 hour work days instead of 8. And I think that in general, everybody's just going to get infinitely more productive. People want to have free time, they want to have remote time, they want to work from home, and they want more personal time. Like, I grew up in an age where you work 60 hours a week, or if you didn't and you were in the office killing yourself, you weren't getting anywhere. And now people want to work. If you're not working, the less you work and the less harder you work, the more you're getting somewhere. It's like the opposite. Like, let me see how little I can work with maximum delivery, and that's the key now. So I think that's what it's going to get to. And who knows, 10 years from now, oh my goodness, I mean, I'll be old. I got 5 grandkids now. I'll probably have 15 by then, but I'll be worried about them. They'll probably be teaching me AI, but I think my grandkids will probably never even have a bank account. Like everything's going digital and AI, like technology is, even resources in abundance, like when you think about food and plant-based proteins and and longevity. I'm big on longevity, and when you look at all that stuff, I just think that we're going to a society of do less, enjoy more personal time, and the resources are just going to become abundant.
Yeah, and human beings do the highest value work, right. Outsource that low value work to an algorithm.
Yeah, exactly, and it's going to do it. It's going to perfect it. I mean, it's going to be like the Jetsons. I think it's literally going to start thinking for you. When you look at the younger generation now, like everything's out of their phone. They ask Siri everything. They ask directions everything. They follow maps. They don't think anything and put anything together for themselves, and you can't stop it. So I think it's just going to continue to evolve, and it's almost going to be predictive thinking, to where you get in your car and it says, "Oh, okay, here we loaded in where you're going." It already knows where you're going. It doesn't even ask you. It just loads your map in because you go there every day, same time.
Exactly. It anticipates I'm going. It's a weekday. It's 7 a.m. You're going to work.
And that's what's going to happen, is it's going to anticipate your everyday life, everything you do, and every pattern you do, and then it's just going to be this predictive technology that's going to literally just put you through life. And then it's what do you do? How do you keep being creative as a person? And how do you find keep feeling, and thinking and feeling. And I think that everybody will find what replaces that, and I think it's going to be cool to watch. I hope I'm around long enough to see it take full hold, because it's going to be pretty cool.
To the longevity you said, we've got to focus on that so we can see where this exciting.
I do everything, man. I do it all. Stem cells, everything, you name it, I do it. I'm trying to stay young.
Right on. That's great. Let's see if any of our attendees have interesting questions or insights to share. Danielle, do you mind opening the questions up?
Yep, Q&A is open. No questions yet. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them into the Q&A chat below the screen here, on the bottom of your screen.
I guess while we're waiting on some questions, David, can you talk about which are you guys using? ChatGPT or Gemini or Bard? There's so many flavors. We've experimented with a couple different ones. Some are better. Some are better at certain tasks than others. What's your guys' experience been there with that?
I think that's the key. Like, you got to figure out like what it's doing and how fast you want it to respond, and what accuracy you want, and then pick you can pick the different ones. So in our dashboard, it's pretty cool. You can actually go when you're building your agent, you could pick all of that and build your agent based on that. And it's all, and there's more come out, and it improves every week. And so I mean, you got to stay up on it. So you really
do. What's been exhausting for us is as a new model comes out and we go to test it, we have to go back and run through hundreds of questions we've asked before, and then a human being has to say, do I still like the answer? And one thing that as a software developer that is frustrating, it is non-deterministic. The slightest change in wording can change your output dramatically. So
we've created AI to go through that and do that. So we actually have an AI agent that goes through and does exactly that.
The quality.
And does it. So but it's pretty cool. And going through and building it and picking it, you're just building you're building a person. And it just depends. I mean, we're using it all, the ChatGPTs, the DeepCram, 11 Labs. So we use all, it's just a bunch of these engines that are driving it and coming together. And we do you got to need the voice to text and text to voice. And so,
yeah, very cool.
It's very interesting. And I don't come from that. So, it looks like we got some questions coming in.
Yep. Got some questions coming in. So first one is, does your clone AI only handle calls both ways, incoming and outgoing calls?
Handles both incoming and outgoing. You can, we have a scheduler. You can schedule it to call certain times a day, how many you want it to call at a time. So it, handles them both and does them both very well.
Awesome. Next question is, what industries will experience the most disruption using these AI solutions?
I think the high volume customer service industries, like for sure, when these, you call in Comcast and they're the worst we're down here in South Florida. When you call Comcast, that's the worst. So I think, I'd rather speak to an AI agent than anybody that picks up for Comcast. And so I think those high volume calls that really they have, they're in the parts of the world where they're the least expensive. You can find somebody and have them pick up the phone and read from a script. I think it's going to affect those very quickly and heavily, and so like that, that's pretty scary if you're in if you're in India, you're in the Philippines, and you have these big call centers. I think that's where it's going to affect it. Like, yeah, I think that's where it's going to be hard.
I would agree. Any work that is repetitive, because you got to remember what these things are doing. They are training based off examples. So if there are examples, it can get really good at going, this is so similar, I can copy what the correct answer was last time.
If you think too, like the average call center IQ, if it's 110, 115, 120, AI is 1,500. So the time it takes you to teach that call center person handling that high volume customer service function that AI can do, you're literally, it takes them a week of training or 2 weeks of training. AI just boom, it's done and it learns it. And so it's, I think that's where it's really going to make the biggest impact. And again, back to logistics, it's a thinking job, and there's a lot of different aspects, and everybody does it. Everybody does the same thing, but everybody does it differently. So, I think that adapting to that is going to be a lot longer and a lot harder to do. And people in logistics aren't so quick to just replace their people either. It's a relationship business, and I think that logistics companies are definitely going to take their time and look at this. They're not going to allow an AI agent to go handle something for their customer and then go back when the AI agent screws it up and tell their customer, oh my God, that AI agent screwed it up. Sorry, that ain't going to cut it. So,
yeah. Awesome. So next question is, how will the AI software separate and prevent the fraud and scamming that is rampant in our transportation industry?
So that's a great question. The fraud is crazy. I've looked at some of these things in the shell games they play. They steal a broker ID, they steal a carrier ID, they go get it with a carrier ID, they give it to a real carrier. The real carrier picks it up, and then that drops it somewhere. And so we have a product we patented. It's called the Voice ID, and we'll be hopefully partnering with Highway to get it rolled out and some other TMSs. But what we can do as soon as it calls the brokerage, we have a Voice ID. Voice ID is almost 99.99% as good as a fingerprint or a face recognition. So we've created a Voice ID product that allow you, when you onboard your carriers, you'll do a 5 or 6 second voice of everybody authorized to take a load from you for that carrier, and it'll immediately know who it is and verify that it's them. That way, because the fraud starts from calling the first call to the broker, off the load board or to get the load. That's where the fraud starts, right there. So if you can catch it right there with having Voice ID, and then also we're going to get Voice ID of the bad actors too, and put these bad actors on a Voice ID, where as soon as they call into anywhere, you're already going to know they're flagged as a bad actor. So that's some of the stuff we're doing for fraud, and just going through algorithms and seeing what they've done, what the driver name is, what the trailer number is, and go back and look at repetitive stuff, and verify, just simple verifications. And then you got the people like Highway again that are really doing a massive effort to curb this fraud. So I think that's key. And there's so many platforms out there that are doing it now and focusing on it, but it's crazy.
The terrifying thought is if the scammers get as sophisticated as we are with AI, and
that's why I don't think there's. So it's hard to we'll be able to tell if it's a clone of the voice, cloning the clone of the voice. So we're ahead of that in doing it, and they are. And the sad part of it is there's not really any insurance that covers it, because the carrier doesn't cover it. If you don't get the name of the carrier that actually picked the load up in time and get to that carrier and say, hey, I think the carriers have to take a much bigger responsibility, because they're taking a load and they're allowing a broker to consign that load without a new shipper bill of lading coming from a shipper. So I think you're going to see a lot of this liability start falling on these carriers that are duped into going and picking up a fraudulent load, thinking it's legit because it's paying great. Oh, I'm going to go get it. You're paying me great. Yeah, I'll blind ship it and drop it somewhere for you, no problem. And these carriers that are selling their MC numbers, I think they're going to start bearing some of the brunt of these claims and this responsibility and liability, because you can't reconsign a shipment that a shipper gave you a bill of lading and take it and drop it somewhere because some guy on a phone for a brokerage tells you to go drop it here.
Totally agree.
Yep. Next question is, there's a lot of providers entering this space right now. What should clients look for in terms of differentiators?
That's a really good question. And we've been talking a lot about that. And I think that where we stand out is the experience I have in logistics allowed me to build a dashboard that's really going to work for the people that work in logistics companies and trucking companies. It's not just a voice AI agent that negotiates and some cute negotiation and then calls the AI. I'll call a carrier rep and get a permission and put the guy on hold and go back. So I think the biggest differentiators are interactive dashboard with our takeover technology that is going to win the day. And then for 30 years, I hauled broker freight. I consolidated broker freight in my logistics company and delivered it all over the country for many years. I have tons of relationships. That's when I opened Lean, I had all these relationships. And, we have over 700 clients there, and I have tons of relationships. And both of those, I needed to be trusted. I need to be trusted to handle their freight for their customers and trusted to handle their back office functions with their employees in Colombia. So now I'm on to the third leg of my journey in selling products and services to logistics companies and AI. And I think that we're going to win the day with credibility and trustworthiness. And I know when people know me, they know I take it very seriously. And especially at Lean, when you go down to Colombia and you see 30 or 40 competitors in the same building right next to each other, and they're confident that it's being ran right and people aren't being poached and information is not being shared. So I think that's a differentiator. We're not just some company out of Silicon Valley that, raised $15 million or $20 million to throw at a bunch of tech play and have no deep rooted experience and relationships in logistics.
Awesome. Yep. Well, there's a couple questions left, but we are at time here. So if you all want, we can answer one more and then we'll.
Yeah, or they can send us also questions at info@cloneops.ai too. We're happy to get back to them and answer some questions. And we got a cute little robot we're developing called Badask, and it's book a demo, ask a question. It's a little interactive AI robot you'll be able to talk to and ask questions and book a demo with them. So we're building that too. So but if you want to take one more, if you got a good one, we got a good one.
Yeah, just asking, what role and how will AI come into play in last mile deliveries?
Appointment setting, verifying there's no issues on the delivery. How many times you do final mile and white glove and you get in and something's dented, they want to know what to do with it. Do we return it? Do we leave it there and tell them keep it? So I think being able to handle the call from drivers calling in on that final mile piece and be able to do troubleshooting and crisis handling for that without having drivers be on hold and having, someone have to do that, I think is big for the final mile and the appointments and just, tracking and success. And even when it's delivered properly, calling and doing the survey, a lot of them, if anybody's got anything delivered, they actually got to get you on the phone and say, did it deliver? Are you happy? And so doing some of that survey stuff too at the end of the deliveries, which a lot of the final mile carriers do, I think AI can be a great tool there.
Yep. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you, David, for hopping in here. Daniel Pickett for hosting this along and filling in for Julie last minute. Appreciate y'all's time today. And like it was mentioned, if there are any other questions, please feel free to reach out to info@cloneops.ai. And we will see you guys on our episode 2 next week, continuing this conversation. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, man. Thanks.
Where are these?